Good morning. It is Monday, September 9th. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I had a great weekend. Essentially, what I did was I spent a large chunk of yesterday really just playing the Dragon Quest XI demo, which is a ton of fun, and I'm really excited for that to drop later this month. But not what I'm here to talk about today. Today, what I want to talk about is actually how to be social with your gaming channel online, because that can be kind of a challenging and scary ordeal, whether you're brand new to YouTube or whether you're already an established veteran on the platform. And the other thing that I did this weekend, aside from, just play some Dragon Quest XI, which was super great, was I also got to reconnect with an old friend who, like me, is very entrepreneurial-minded, very much a self-starter. She's absolutely brilliant, but despite all of her intellect, she also has some struggles, and one of the ones that we had talked about in particular was she wanted to pursue this new thing online that basically would have required her to create some content, right? And creating content is great. I advocate for everybody to do it. But even though she was, again, very, very intelligent individual and just a really, really hard worker, this was something that she really, really struggled with, so we had a conversation about it. And essentially what I told her was, I like this new idea that you're putting forth, but I feel like you're going to have a real uphill battle if you're unwilling to engage with people on social and kind of get yourself to that place. Not saying it's impossible, and my goal in saying this was not to, crush her spirits or anything. It was actually just to point out that, it's hard when you're trying to do something online, whether that's, whether you're being an entrepreneur, whether you're running a gaming channel, which is what a lot of us do. To do that in a vacuum can be really, really difficult if you're on a particular mission for growth. Dad, what's up? Uncle Strange says, you mean I actually have to talk to me? I know, right? It's horrible. It's not great. Also, I thought you'd appreciate the thumbnail for this particular video, Uncle Strange. I'm sure you'll get the reference. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today, which is a simple 5-step blueprint for how to sort of get acclimated to being on social networks like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, so that you can basically get in the regular habit of interacting with people, because the more social you are, the more opportunities that will actually create for you, for your gaming channel. It's hard to operate in a vacuum. Again, I don't advocate for it. So we're going to see if we can go through just 5 basic things that a lot of different people can take advantage of. So the first thing that I would say is, if you're somebody who's completely new to social, whether you're just intimidated by it, whether you're not really quite sure how to do it, the first thing I would say is to start with a single social network. Don't try to do 5 or 6. And that sort of goes against a lot of information that's out there, where people say, you want to create content on as many platforms as possible to kind of give your brand awareness and, find the right people, and then, so you need to put out 5-6 pieces of content a day across 5 or 6 different social networks or more in some cases. And while I can see the appeal of that, and it definitely increases your odds of success, if you're somebody who doesn't even know how to be social, or if you're somebody who's only dabbling and you're not entirely sure what you're doing, that can be a really hard sell. So, the same way, if you can't grill a burger properly, it would probably be ill-advised to ask you to create a 3-course Italian dinner, right? So, in the same way, don't overload yourself with 5 different platforms. At first you can get really fired up and be like, you know what, I'm going to put out 3 pieces of content on Twitter, and then I'm going to do 3 pieces of content on Instagram, and then I'm going to do 3 pieces on a Facebook page every single day. But then if you put that pressure on yourself and you sort of, miss the mark on one of them, that can kind of, cascade or, basically just snowball on you, and at that point, you might not create anything. So I think it's a much better approach to just pick one network that you're comfortable with and start with that one. So next up would be, once you join a social network, figure out who you're going to follow, and then before you even worry about posting, spend more time replying to other people than you do putting out your own stuff. Even before you send out your first tweet, your first post, as your brand page or whatever it is, wherever you are, to try to explain why your gaming channel is awesome and everything, you would definitely want to make sure that you're not, start by just connecting with other people and seeing what they have to say, right? It's a lower risk way to kind of get into the swing of things. So, looks like we're buffering a little bit. Chips, what's up, man? How you doing? Quicksand, appreciate you hanging out. No friends, good to see you, even though I'm sure it's not quite as early for you right now. Good morning, Nathan. So, in that way, one of the things it does is, one, it helps build confidence, right? If you follow cool people and you're willing to engage on something that they've said, and, they reply back to you in a way that's positive, not necessarily toxic, or, they don't ignore you completely, that can be something that helps build your confidence a little bit, right? Because if you're doing fresh posts with your own ideas and everything, and kind of making yourself vulnerable to people to kind of, weigh in on what you have to say, then, that can, again, be sort of scary, intimidating. If you're somebody who's introverted or not very comfortable being social, period, which is where I was for a very long time, then this could be a much lower risk way to start getting acclimated to the process and learning the ins and outs of that social network as you spend more time watching what other people are doing, replying to them, rather than focusing on making your own content right out of the gate. But After a time, as you spend more time with it, you will become a little bit more comfortable, and as you do, that's when you can start posting your own content. And to that end, some people are like, when should I post? Should I send out 10 tweets a day, or should I just do it once a day, or what's the right ratio? And I would say, as a baseline, just very basic way to get acclimated to any social network that you're trying to kind of expand your brand presence on. And I learned this from Roberto Blake, actually, because he was talking about it for an Instagram strategy, but I think it lends itself particularly well to basically any social network. And that is to try a breakfast, lunch, and dinner strategy, right? Whenever you're having breakfast, chilling out in the morning, whenever you have time during your day, if you're on a lunch break from your job or something like that, and, sometime in the evening, around the time you're having dinner, make those the 3 times you post, just as a way to start. Now, ideally, a lot of people will post a lot more than that, and, aside from just these 3, unique self-created posts that you send out, you can still reply to people a lot more than that, but ultimately try to make sure you're at least hitting 3 times a day to start. Even if you're only doing 1 a day, that's fine, but try to just get into the regular pattern of creating content, and at some point it's going to become second nature to you. It's not going to be very intimidating. You'll be a lot more comfortable with yourself, with your audience, the kind of content that you make, and when is the best time to put that out and how often you should be doing it. So that would be my third tip: breakfast, lunch, and dinner strategy. Easy peasy for beginners, very simple time. We all got to eat, easy to remember, tie it to that. Next up, I would say whenever you start posting is you want to make sure that your content is relevant or valuable to other people. Like, if you're running a gaming channel, which is what a lot of us are doing, and you're interacting with predominantly gamers all day, every day, but you don't send out anything about video games or about the thing that gets you excited for the content that you create on your channel, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? You're going to be unlikely to attract new followers if they see that you've got a massive amount of tweets, or if you have a massive amount of pictures on Instagram or something like that, but then you're not really seeing, if somebody lands on your page and they don't see the content that you have on that social network is reflective of the kind of stuff that's on your channel, then it's going to be confusing and create marketplace confusion. There's not going to be a huge incentive for them to follow you. But again, if you kind of did that first step or that second step where you're replying more than you post new content, you're getting to know the people in that particular area, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to do that as you start to figure out where their interests are and if they align with your brand, with your channel. And if they don't, then maybe you're following the wrong people. That's something else that you can sort of take away from this. But ultimately, whenever you send that content out, if you're on a mission for growth and you're trying to make sure that your social media presence is a reflection of what you're doing on your channel, then you want to make sure that what you put there is very reflective of what you have on the channel, where people are ultimately going to land if you start to self-promote. But we'll talk about self-promotion in a second, because that opens up a whole new can of worms. So yeah, make sure your content is relevant and valuable to other people. And number 4, and this is the reason I say this, is because some people are super intimidated by different types of social media, and I would say to just play to your strengths, right? In almost every social media network there is, even places like Instagram, you don't necessarily have to just stick to the written word or images, right? Sometimes you can do video posts as well. If you're somebody who can't write your way out of a paper bag, if you can't write to save your life, maybe the answer for you is to do more video content than anything else, and in turn that might actually help you pick that social network that you're going to start with. If you're predominantly video, TikTok may be a better fit for you than Instagram if you're not great at taking still photos. Maro, who's in the chat, does not have that problem. Also, good morning, Maro. It is so early. How are you even here? Lola says, I fight monsters while watching, but here not talk. It's okay. I appreciate that you can take some time away from Monster Hunter World to hang out a bit back. Just a random giveaway on the story because I'm so nice. Yes, it's a very nice thing to do. So again, if you play to your strengths, Twitter, if you're really good at writing, might be excellent for you. But if you're somebody who is not necessarily comfortable writing, or you can't write very well, video might be it for you. But if you're somebody who's super uncomfortable with video, that'd be kind of weird if you're on YouTube, but it does happen. At that point, maybe writing or doing posts that are more image-based, things like that, are going to make more sense for you. Just, you have to do the experimentation to kind of figure out what's going to be the ideal mix. Woke up sweating. It's 5 a.m. That sucks, Morrow. 8-Bit Glitch, I'm glad you are alive. I'm glad that everything worked out. Being social, bring candy. There is that. There's always a value proposition. So those are basically the 5. Then I've got a couple of bonus ones here that I really thought of last minute but didn't really flesh out in a significant way. But just to recap those 5, 1, pick one social network to start out with, to get familiar with the process, especially if you're somebody who's intimidated by the prospect, because it's way easier to tackle one problem than 3 simultaneously, so don't overload yourself. 2 is to reply more than you post. That is, get to know the people in your space, the people that you want to connect with, the people that make sense for your channel. 3 is for post frequency. Just start basic. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner 3 times a day after you start to get more comfortable with, the network that you've chosen to be active on. 4 is to make sure that your content is relevant and valuable to the people that you want to connect with, because if it isn't, it's going to be kind of hard to build those relationships, get to know other people, and ultimately establish any sort of brand authority. And 5, finally, play to your strengths, right? Pick a network that makes sense for the thing that you're good at, ideally with something you like, because that intersection of what you like and what you're good at is just dynamite. That's a very good position to be in. And finally, a couple of bonus tips. The first is keep self-promotion to a minimum. Now, this is slightly more advanced, like this goes a little bit beyond basic, but if you're already comfortable with the steps I've already talked about and you think this is going to be valuable, let's talk about it. Self-promotion is something that you kind of have to do, right? Nobody's going to promote for you unless you're paying them to do it in a lot of cases, or unless you create content that's so good and you've already built up a following, but in that case, you probably aren't going to get a lot out of this video anyways because you're kind of already on your way. But when it comes to when to self-promote, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whatever it is, keep your ratios in check. If all you do all day long is act like a billboard and you never interact with anybody else, you never act like a human, you never, basically allow people to understand that you're just another person, not a great spot to be in, because there's nothing more off-putting than someone who's just constantly selling, constantly pushing to you. That's just not a great position to be in. So in that regard, it's okay to self-promote, but make sure that's not all you're doing. Like, if you send out 10 tweets a day, self-promotion should be maybe one of those tweets, right? Not 5, not 8, certainly not all 10 of them. So that's something to keep in mind, because, one of the first things people get in their head is that, if I'm making content, I need to blast that thing out everywhere to give it maximum exposure. But if that maximum exposure you're seeking is just telling people over and over, all I care about is myself, and you need to watch what I say you need to watch, not great. And the other thing to remember too, when it comes to being social, and this is another bonus I guess, is there are a lot of things out there that will let you blast out content simultaneously to like 10 different social networks or 30 different social networks at once. You can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it, simply because usually those different networks have different audiences and they have different expectations, and if you do start to grow a following on one of them and they go and they look at your other presences and see it's just the same thing repeated over and over and over again, not a good look. Not great. Don't take candy for strangers, but they always have the best. I know, Lady Katana. It's horrific, but true. Look for panel vans. I'm kidding. If you're a child, don't do that. And now you are in my news of the morning. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Morrow. I'm glad to hear it. Tastes better because you're not supposed to. I know, right? It's like the forbidden fruit. Uncle Strange says, last time I was given candy, I got sleepy. That's terrible. That's not that kind of show. I'm trying to dispense information here. You can't be talking about panel vans and forbidden. Yes, like Lady Katana, you and I are in alignment there. So anyways, yeah, those are basically my tips. And the other thing I would say is, if you're new here, if you're watching this after the fact, and you're worried about, like, what if nobody ever likes what I have to say on Twitter, or what if, I tweet something and someone makes fun of it, please follow me on Twitter. I would be happy to look at what you're putting out there and offer some encouragement. DM me on Twitter, or if you want to get in touch and talk about something offline when you're not public facing in the middle of chat here, shoot me an email. It's in my about section. Happy to talk with you about, if you have any problems with social or YouTube or something I can help with. If it's something that is beyond my skill or ability to assist with, I will see if I can find you somebody who's much smarter than me who can help you do so. But yeah, those would be like my 5 basic tips, and a couple of little bonuses in there if you're warming up to social, you're reaching that kind of intermediate level where you are comfortable putting yourself out on social. But yeah, that was the content for today, and now comes the part where we just kind of hang out and chat a bit before I have to get ready for work. So, how are all of you doing, and how was your weekend? I hope it was great. Normally I have a Red Bull here, and I forgot it somewhere. That's usually where I would take like a long drink and kind of wait for a reply, but now I'm not really in a great position. Jacob says he never likes my posts. Well, let's look at one of your posts and see if I can like it. Let's see if it's something that's brand consistent for me, because that's the other thing I think people forget. People can see what you like on Twitter, so if you're liking some out there stuff and it's not consistent with your brand, that can be problematic. And because I know you, Jake, and I know that your particular style of humor is not always in alignment with the very Mr. Rogers brand I try to create here that's approachable to both adults and children, normally why you don't see me making a lot of panel van candy jokes, for example, I don't like everything that I see. Sometimes I look at stuff and I just chuckle at it, but I wouldn't actually like it on my brand account. And that's not true. I like one of your things from 2 days ago. You said finally diving into Astral Chain on the Nintendo Switch, and I liked that post because I also am playing Astral Chain. So, Jaken, I love you, but I don't appreciate you telling lies in the middle of my stream. It's good info, my friend, absolutely, but it's interesting watching you hide a smile. It's not easy. I like to smile. It's my favorite. Chip says, how do you get all buddy-buddy with people with bigger followings? Honestly, that's something that I struggle with. And I actually, one of the people that I talked to that helped me out with it, ironically, is a bigger YouTuber, and that was Riff from Pixel Game Squad at Southeast Game Exchange. He and I got to talk a little bit because we talked back and forth here and there. I ran into him at E3 and we chatted a little bit. And that's one of the things I brought up. I was like, I said when it comes to connect with larger YouTubers, for example, I was like, this is an area where I struggle because I don't want to look like somebody who's just clout chasing, right? And you have to think that people who are in a larger position who get hit up all the time, I think there's that naturally a sort of off-putting quality there because naturally you have the skepticism where you think that anybody who's not playing at your level probably wants something from you, and while that may be true, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who does want something from you is ill-intentioned. And that's essentially, I'm going to tell you that the advice that Riff gave me was that basically to just be genuine. Don't be a salesman. If you have a cool idea, you don't necessarily have to be wholly intimidated by connecting with somebody who's larger than you, but at the same time you don't necessarily want to lead into every conversation like, hey, I got a great business opportunity for you, right? Just try to build it organically. And I would say that one of the ways that you can do that, or one of the ways that I've connected with large YouTubers like Riff, for example, is to just organically connect with the content they're already putting out, right? I mean, if you're a fan of that person and you want to have like a legitimate relationship with them that extends beyond just what can I get from you, then that should be demonstrated in your actions. If you go in cold to a giant YouTuber and you're like, I think we should collaborate, they don't know who you are, they've never seen you on their channel before, they've never seen you interact with them on any type of social media, you're going to be at a disadvantage, I would say. Now, if it's an out of the park proposition that had clear benefit for them, where they have to do almost no work, you might get lucky or something like that. But I would say you connect with somebody who's larger the same way you would connect with somebody who's smaller or somebody who's playing at the same level that you are, right? Just be a good dude, connect with them, make it organic. Give without asking, right? And the way you give to a larger YouTuber is the same way you give to your peers or the people that you see that are trying to come up themselves, is you reply to them, you interact with them, you show them that you value the things that they're putting out, right? And I think that puts you in a much better position later on if you want to pursue the idea of, hey, let's collaborate on something, or I had a cool idea or something like that. Katana says trying to get little people to school. Oh, right on. That is not something I have to mess with this morning. Skitty, what's up? Self-promo always makes me uncomfortable, like I'm bothering people. Also, I'm late, but hey, hello, it's okay to be late. It starts pretty early, Skitty. But no, you're right. Like, it makes me uncomfortable, too. And if you look at my tweets, you can kind of see some of that discomfort reflected on them. Even the self-promotional stuff, I almost never do a call to action, even though I know that that's best practice. Like, best practice for marketing says, you need to have a call to action, right? Like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you go watch this. And if you look at the way I post on Twitter when I tweet these videos out, speaking of which, if anybody's not following me on Twitter and would like to, I should probably put that here since that's what I'm talking about today. But I very rarely am like, you need these tips, or, go click here, or go watch, subscribe, share, like, and comment. Even those things are helpful to me. I'll talk about them on a live stream when people are already engaged and they can already see me and they can see that it is genuine. It's not just like some copy pasta text that I just put on everything to get people to spread my message or something like that. But it is sort of uncomfortable, right? Like, self-promotion can be weird because it's like you're tooting your own horn, and that can be off-putting. But again, I think what it comes down to, Skitty, is like when people understand you as a person, and they don't understand you as a person until you've shown that to them. And you show that to them by consistently, replying to other people who are, kind of in the same social sphere that you are on the web. And then whenever they come and look at what you've done, they see, oh, Skinny hasn't just talked about how great she is for the past 40 posts. She was out encouraging another creator, or she was sharing something useful that she found. That consistent commitment to putting out valuable stuff has like a long form kind of return, right? Because what it does is it helps you establish authority, helps you build up a presence surrounding your profile, where people kind of get a blueprint of who you are. It's kind of funny, but yeah, it's that discomfort, not something foreign to me. Chip says, why are you buffering so hard? I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm having some issues here. It could be, or if you mean that, well, nothing's really updating. I don't think I have anything else draining network resources, but let's see if I can kill a browser and see if that helps. Also, it takes me a while to reply to some things. I see your new pickups at the back, at least. Yes, those new pickups are Metal Wolf XD and the Messenger. I will grab them. And if you're wondering, did I strategically place those in the back simply as a conversation piece? Absolutely. Even though that's not what I'm talking about. It was Metal Wolf XD, and then also the Messenger, which finally showed up from Limited Run Games. I'm very excited to play this. Step 1, Chips, be likable, work on it. That actually is a good first step. Perhaps not delivered in the most friendly way, which is where Jakin is failing at it. Cabot, what's up, man? How you doing? Editing, bro? Right on, Mikkel. Up and at 'em early, because for you it's even earlier, isn't it? And on Hawaii time. Josh, you were so nice, too. Wait, just now? Or are you saying that I did something that was not nice? Sushi hopes it goes well. Mario, yes, I have 2 tests. Go kill your tests, Sushi. I believe in you. Where am I at in the chat? Yes, follow Josh. He does lovely gifts. I should probably work on that, because anybody who looks at my profile right now is only going to see the gift battles I keep getting into with like you and Jake and tomorrow. I should probably be careful about responding in GIF format so much, because if you go to my profile and you look at like my recent pictures, none of that is valuable. It's just random GIFs of like Gandalf laughing and things like that. It's so goofy. But it also humanizes me in some way, right? People know that even though I like talking about important entrepreneurial / YouTube things, that, you know, I'm still a person who loves a good GIF battle. Josh needs to give his internet some mini I know, right? It's not going great right now. Josh is downloading Monster Hunter. I wonder if something is downloading right now. I just realized that my Xbox One could be downloading updates or something like that. It shouldn't be, but it's possible. That's something I didn't think about to check for draining network resources, but I'll look into it. It's 2 a.m. here. Too late, Josh. Your pinned tweet says so much. Yeah, it does say quite a few things, particularly that I like tacos, so, you know. Yeah, Sushi, don't worry. You're going to crush it. You're super smart. I don't doubt your abilities whatsoever. Seems smooth now. I'm so glad to hear that, Chips. I'm like bouncing back and forth between the chats, so it probably seems really weird and delayed and out of order and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, it was weird. Like, originally I was going to talk about a different topic this morning, but I couldn't stop thinking about this one because the girl that I talked to yesterday, my buddy, she, you know, just very much, you know, very ambitious person, hard worker, very smart, does good work. But, you know, I also know that she's at a rough sort of disadvantage because she's just so terrified of social. And one of the things that was brought up is, and this is a problem I cannot speak to intelligently because I don't experience it, but I know that a lot of women do, is that, you know, she was like, you know, I don't want to get hit on or get a bunch of like creepy pervs and stuff like slide into my DMs. And that is really unfortunate, right? And I think that may be something women are more susceptible to than men, or at least I can say that I'm not getting hit on in any DMs that I can tell you. But I would say that, you know, everybody, no matter, you know, what sex they are, struggles with the fact that when you put yourself out there, it's scary because you don't know who you're going to expose yourself to, and depending on how vulnerable you're willing to be, that all should put you at a greater risk for somebody to, you know, just to troll you, to be toxic towards you, to try to discredit you. And there are people out there like that, but again, I think if you start with a social network and you connect with people first and you find those good people, the odds of you, you know, experiencing that sort of treatment go down dramatically, right? If you asked me to post the same content that I do on Twitter, on Facebook, I probably wouldn't, because I know there's a lot of trolly people that I'm kind of friends with, you know, just out of some weird sense of social obligation. One of the reasons I don't go on Facebook anymore, for me, Facebook's very toxic. On Twitter, I was very much able to streamline and curate people who share my interests down to, you know, gamers. I didn't really have to get involved in a bunch of political discourse that I'm not qualified to speak to, because most of the people on Twitter, I know they're going to be talking about video games, and I know if I send out something that is vaguely video game or YouTube related, I'm usually going to do okay, right? There are very few people I've found on Twitter that if I send out something about a video game, unless it's something that's by design hyper opinionated or polarized or designed to, you know, generate discussion, not really worried about people coming out of the woodwork and tearing what I do down. Unless, except for Jake, and Jake tears me down constantly, but he does it because he loves me and he knows it makes me better. Thanks for believing in me, Josh. I will always believe in you. I know you're super smart, Sushi, because I know that you take intelligent digs at me all day. You're sort of like Jaken. But again, I appreciate it. It makes me stronger. Females constantly be sliding into my DMs. They want Casanova. In all seriousness, I do get a lot of DMs from women hitting on me. Yeah, for those of us that aren't that pretty, not as much of a problem. But, you know, it is true, right? And the thing that killed me about hearing that from her was that she's so incredibly intelligent and so capable, and she does such phenomenal work. The fact that she can't really share that out in a broader way because she's worried about people that are going to do that, like, that sucks. Like, we shouldn't have to live in a world like that. But, you know, one of the things that I told her was that, you know, those people, you know, like, they sort of win by sort of like pushing you into silence in that way, by not being willing to put anything out. And yeah, there are tools to deal with it, like you can report people and stuff like that, but, you know, if I were in that same position, I know that would certainly be a barrier for me. So I'm not judging her real harshly, being like, oh, whatever, just deal with it, just get out there and put out content. No, like, I know for some people that can be a real issue. You know, depending on how you're wired emotionally, it can be devastating. So, you know, it's one of those things that, like, we all have unique challenges in life that we have to overcome, and, you know, on a long enough timeline, any of us can dream up a million reasons not to do something, and some of them may be super valid, but at the end of the day, you have a decision to make. You either work around that difficulty, push through it, or decide that you're going to find another angle entirely. But again, I think the most important thing is not that you find some silver bullet strategy to overcoming every difficulty that you're going to encounter as an online creator. I think the important thing is that you keep going. And that's what I'm doing. This isn't perfect. The lighting setup here isn't, perfectly ideal or anything, but I'm going to be here every morning at 8 a.m. unless I have, something where work gets in the way or some obligation where I absolutely can't be live at 8 a.m. Skitty says, I've gotten some strange DMs to say the least, but nothing degrading yet. And good for you. I hope you never get any degrading DMs. Like, that's got to be the worst. Your name doesn't... Who, Mikkel's? Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't help. No, sorry, I was a little confused with what you meant there. Mikkel says, I ain't pretty. It's because I'm in Hawaii. Hawaii must be nice, right? One day I'm going to come visit. YourPlayerTwo, is it possible to post too much? Can being too social work against you? I think that it can, but my position on this has shifted a little bit over the past 6 to 8 months. I'm not advocating that you just like send 400 tweets a day, but one of the things, again, that I kind of forgot that I remembered, if that makes sense, is one of my favorite quotes of all time from Dr. Seuss, and that is, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Essentially, and how I'm applying this to social media is, I was very concerned about tweeting too much, and then I slowly got over it, because one of the things I did was I kind of did a mini experiment that I didn't talk about here on the channel, but I was tweeting very much with the breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of strategy, where it's just like 1 to 3 a day, in very measured ways. And then I was like, okay, so that seemed to be alright. What happens if I go the opposite direction? I just tweet whenever I feel like it, while also being conscious enough to be like, let's make sure it's at least relevant, or I'm keeping the ratios in check, but basically whenever I want. But again, trying to put out value or things that I think people would appreciate that, again, are YouTubers and are gamers, ideally both. And what I found was there really wasn't a significant change. Like, I didn't lose a ton of followers. I might have lost a couple more than normal, but I also noticed that I was gaining a lot more. So, too much, that's a really big subjective sort of question. I would say it's too much if you're putting out low effort or low quality content. If you put out 100 tweets a day and you're like, sup, or like, have an awesome day, and that's the only thing you ever do, that doesn't really require a ton of thought and effort. But if you're carefully crafting, for example, like if you're at a place where you're like, should I send out 2 tweets a day? Or if you are, well-spoken enough or in tune enough with your audience that you can craft 20 meaningful tweets a day and send them out, I would say go for it. Because really what's going to happen is you're going to find that you're just like YouTube. Whenever you lose subscribers, you're not really losing, you're refining. The people who love what you do, they're going to stick around. The people who are like, this guy talks too much, or I'm not down with what he's saying, they're going to peace out, and that's great. It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time to worry about appealing to them, because you're never going to. If people start to be like, I don't like what you're doing here, like even now, like if I lose subscribers because of this morning live stream experiment, or if I have people who come to me and they're like, hey, I don't like what you're doing, I'm like, sorry, bye, unsubscribe, go away. It's a big internet, and it's not animosity speaking, right? Like, I'm not over here with the mentality of like, well, I don't need that guy anyways, but kinda. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to have to modify everything that I do simply to pander to a very particular audience. I want to serve an audience, yes, but if I have somebody who's not a content creator and they're just a gamer, and they come back over and over and they're like, I don't like the way you do things, change it. No. You can go find somebody else who serves your needs, because, and again, it's not that I want to dehumanize someone, or I want to act like somebody doesn't matter. Of course I want to grow and I want subscribers, but I want engaged people who really care. And to do that, I'm only going to be able to accomplish that if I'm speaking their language. And if I'm not speaking your language, it's fine to go. I mean, it's a big world out there, and if one guy doesn't like what you do, if one chick is not a fan of the content you put out, don't worry, there's about 6.9 billion other people that you have that you have to roll the dice on. So the odds are in your favor, friend. So many fields have asked to fly them out here, and y'all can't be serious. Yeah, that's ballsy maneuver. Just block them and we're good. Yeah, I mean, like, you can block people if people are doing something unsavory, but again, I can see how even the prospect of having to block them could also raise stressors or questions in someone's mind. I don't like blocking people. I've been very blessed in that I've rarely had to do so, but it is one of those things that, it can be a barrier to wanting to be social at all if you think that there's some creeper who's in the digital bushes, as it were. Josh, when you come out here, you're staying at my house as I'm down the street from Waikiki. 200% down. I'm about to slide into your DMs, Miguel. Skitty says, I'm even struggling to get out one tweet a day. I'm working on it, though. Are you comfortable talking about it in this forum, Skitty? Because if so, I would love to know what's going through your head. But if you're not comfortable talking about it in public forum, I would love to talk about it offline, see if there's anything I can do to help with that. But I can absolutely relate. Even as somebody who tweets fairly regularly now, there are days where I don't tweet at all. There are days where I'm like, where I overthink, and I'm like, ooh, no one's gonna like this, or I'm gonna say something stupid, or someone's gonna think this is interpreted weird. And to Chips's point earlier, one of the things that's kind of helped me get through it is realizing that in the age-old quality versus quantity debate, the answer is definitively quantity, because they're not mutually exclusive. Quantity leads to quality. The more you do something, the better you get at it. In turn, quality organically gets created. If you focus on quality entirely and you're like, ooh, I can't post, I can't create, I can't put something out, I can't expose myself unless it's going to be top shelf, you will always find a reason that it isn't top shelf, and that will just hold you back. And that's where I was for a long time. That was the dangerous place I was about to get to with this channel, and that is, again, one of the reasons that sort of pushed me forward on this live streaming experiment, because I don't have a choice. I made a commitment that I was going to be here every day at 8 a.m., unless, again, something like my day job where I have a legitimate commitment that would prevent me from doing so. So in that way, I have no escape. I boxed myself in on purpose because I knew it would force me to get better, it would force me to grow, it would force me to be more comfortable with who I am, the content that I put out, and ultimately, you know, talking to people on a regular basis. So yeah, I don't know how I got off on that tangent there, but yeah. Case in point, if you'd like to talk more, Skitty, I would love to do it. Sushi Morrow could tweet sup every hour, and I'd like every one of those. Well, that's it, but yes. But if you didn't know Morrow and she tweeted sup every hour, you would think that she was a loony person, and you wouldn't do that probably. But because you know Morrow, it becomes more acceptable. And, you know, I think Sushi really just demonstrated that's the power of connection right there. Sushi knows Morrow. You know, a lot of us in this chat know Morrow. She's an absolute sweetheart. And she could literally just tweet out, like Gary Vee the other day actually did this. He was like, I tweeted out a single blue heart and it got like thousands and thousands of likes. And his mentality is that even something as small as a single emoji can have value if one person sees it and they're like, oh, you know what, that's nice. You just made someone's day in a very tiny way. And I'm not advocating you just go out and do a string of single emoji tweets, but I'm just saying that that works for Gary, and it works for Morrow if she were to pursue the sup strategy. It's not really a strategy, but let's just say she did that, because so many people already know her. She spent the time building those relationships, getting to know people. She spent that time to become the overlord of the YourPlayerTwo Discord, which is a terrifying thing. Some shameless self-promotion here right now. If you would like to join the Discord and hang out and talk in a place that is even less online public-facing social, it's a good place to do it. But I will warn you, Morrow here from the chat with the blue wrench reigns supreme there, and she does not suffer fools lightly. So if any creepers are trying to get in there, you'll have to answer to Morrow. And she'll have a lot more to say than sup, I promise you. Cabot says, with me, most of my tweets are sharing other streams and updating what I'm doing in games that I can't record or stream myself. Yeah, you know, that's something that I'm also... I do share people's content, or I do retweet people on occasion, but sometimes I'm very careful about it, because if I don't know a creator very well, if, you know, for instance, like, sometimes if you see a really cool thing, you're just like, oh, that's a really cool video, and you retweet it, and then, like, alright, this is probably an extreme example, but then you go look at their Twitter, and it's just a bunch of Nazi hate speech, for example. Retweeting them might not be a good look for your brand, just saying. Now, that's an example taken to the extreme, but I'm very discerning when it comes to what I share and what I don't, because I try to be respectful of people's timelines, right? I don't, like, I'll tweet a lot as long as it's relevant, but at the same time, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's just like my diet version of overthinking that I've justified to myself as okay, but I do try to be careful in terms of what I'm putting out there on the brand. Never calm down, Mara. Just keep tweeting about Animal Crossing to Josh. No, you're never gonna get me onto Animal Crossing in a significant way. Sushi, I tweet too much, I need to calm down, but, well, and that's the thing, like, even now, Mar, like, I know you tweet a lot, but I've never looked at your timeline, or I've never looked at my own timeline and be like, oh my god, this Mara chick will not shut up. No, like, it's not even something that I get concerned about, because I think Twitter also intelligently serves things up to you depending on how you have your timeline structured. So, you know, if you want, you can hit a bell to be notified whenever somebody sends out any tweet, if you want to, kind of like subscribing with the notification on for YouTube. But also, Twitter is pretty good at intelligently curating and realizing, oh, Amaro's talking to somebody else, probably not a public-facing thing, I need to serve up into Josh's timeline. Morrow is the overlord. Skitty says, oh, I don't mind talking about it, I just never feel like my thoughts are worth tweeting about. The whole, I'm trying to be an educator, so I need to be professional 200% of the time. You mean you're trying to be an educator with your channel content? Or do you mean I'm not sure I follow you, like, when you say that. But I will say, like, even right now in this chat, Skitty, like, granted this is a very small scale example, there's only, like, what, there were 10 to 15 people in here, I think, at peak. You know, nobody in here is freaking out about things that you have to say. You're contributing to the conversation in a meaningful way, and I would say, you know, if you're doing the same thing on Twitter, I think you'd be alright. But I also know that's easier said than done, right? It's again, you can kind of creep into the pool, or you can, you know, dive right in, and depending on your personality type, one approach is going to be a whole lot more approachable than the other. The overlord of helping Josh play Animal Crossing. I just don't understand the appeal, the obsession. Oh, speaking of Animal Crossing, what my dad's saying, apropos of nothing at all, puppy break. Does anybody... I have no... My dad is incredibly biased. He loves the dog, right? Anybody who saw me stream the other day knew that there... One of the things I did to improve streams this week was I made a break roll. It's like a be right back kind of thing, and it's just filled with like 2 minutes of chill. If you guys want to see it, I'll play it for a minute. Oh, actually, I will play it a minute. Diggs, what's up, man? How you doing? Josh, I can't do YouTube. That feels stress. I'll stick to Instagram. I'll leave the YouTube power to you. I don't have a lot of power, but I like doing it, and I like the things I learned from you about Instagram. But if you guys would like to see the puppy break roll, I'll play it for 30 seconds if you guys want to see it. Let me know in the chat. If so, we'll take a short 30-second break, and you can see the ridiculous, shameless way that I utilize my puppy to let people know that we'll be right back after these messages, kind of thing. The study internet makes for some interesting freeze frames. I'm sure it does. I wish I knew why it was so stuttery today. This is not a problem that I typically have, but you know, hopefully it'll be better tomorrow. But I guess the audio is coming through okay. That's encouraging. Chip says, I also think there has to be some sort of professionalism with how one conducts their social media, especially if you're a creator looking for opportunities. Absolutely. This is, again, the reason that I don't advocate for, like, trash-talking companies or other YouTubers or really getting involved in drama at all. If you're operating from a brand account, if you're on a personal account, maybe, but depending on how strongly associated your personal accounts are with your brand account, that still might not be the best idea. But, you know, when it comes to professionalism, like, my views on professionalism go back to Dustin Hoffman. I know I've said this in the past, and it was from behind the scenes on some movie he did, but my theory on professionalism is you never have to grow up, but it's okay to be an adult, right? Like, anybody who goes to my Twitter knows that I don't mind having fun and talking about goofy stuff and really just having a blast with a bunch of people who I like to follow on there. But at the same time, you know, when it's time to talk about brands or strategy or the things that I'm very passionate about, you know, putting out into the world, or the legacy that I want to build with my YouTube channel, that I can tighten it up and be more professional too, right? But just because you're professional doesn't mean you have to be boring. And I think a lot of people can psych themselves out and be like, if I'm unprofessional, you know, because the problem with professionalism in like its purest sense is I think a lot of people think that professional means completely devoid of fun or personality or character, and those don't have to be mutually exclusive things. You know, I think professional really is more in the amount of respect that you can show to other people, to other brands, to other creators. I always want to see a puppy. Okay, I'm gonna roll this for 30 seconds and then we'll be right back. Okay, there's no reason to take a break right now. This is already a really short stream that only goes for about 40-45 minutes. But if you guys would rather see the puppy, even though we're supposed to be talking about social media blueprints, that's fine. I'll go ahead and I'll roll it for a minute. Alrighty, I think that's just about enough of that puppy break. I will probably never do that again. I'm only doing it to appease my father because he's insistent that I turn Chell into some YouTuber on our own merit, and that's probably not going to happen. Yes, it is Animal Crossing music, just so I can, you know, just so I can appease Sente, because I said I would. Great examples of professionalism is exhibit. Yeah, J Love's amazing, right? Like you might think that because we work in the video game space that somehow that inherently makes you unprofessional. Not the case at all. J Love is a powerhouse of empathy and connection and encouragement for other creators, and that's a very professional thing to do, right? When you constantly care about the well being of others and you're pushing them to be better, and you're just that kind of approachable person, you can kind of generate that warmth when it comes to interacting with people. Very professional. Chip says, I think companies look at how you act and decide if they want to work with you based on that. Absolutely, they do. Like, if I had a channel where all I did was bash other companies, but then I was like, hey, if you're a company and you want to contact me, hit me up here. Like, who would want to? Most of the companies that hit me up now are usually for, they'll send review codes. Usually a lot of indie developers, right? Ubisoft's not hitting me up like, hey, we'd really love you to review this. I'm not playing at that level yet. Or I'll get product manufacturers, and it's weird because they tend to come from the most successful videos that I've had. So when I did a video about the PlayStation Classic, then I started getting a rush of emails from companies that were like, hey, we've got stuff to let you hack the 3DS. You want to make this on your channel? And at some point, I may actually follow up on a couple of those opportunities. But it's if those companies had seen that most of my content was toxic nonsense or hateful in some way, there's no way they'd want to do that. So yes, I would agree that how professional you are, or at least if you're not a jerk, I think that speaks volumes to potential people who would want to work with you, be they creators or companies that exist within the same industry. I cannot. The man did it, and with adorable puppy. Yep, I did my best. Scotty says, my Twitter is strictly a brand account, which is linked to my YouTube, and my YouTube is shared to studios with my demo reel, so I'm always worried about what director is digging through my Twitter. Well, and that's the thing, like, I don't think you have to worry about, somebody digging through your Twitter, as long as your Twitter isn't filled with anything that's demonstrably horrible. And, just from our brief interactions, Skitty, I'm not really getting that from you, but, as long as what you're putting out there is relevant and it makes sense within the constructs of your demo reel, of your channel, if it's all consistent, and that's the thing, like, if a director has a problem with you, there's probably other directors out there, right? I mean, because there are, even I kind of struggle with the same thing because some of the stuff that I would put out professionally, like if I ever have to, like get a different job or something like that, is somebody going to find my YouTube presence and or something like that and be like, can't hire this guy, he's an idiot? But I think the right people will know that that's not the case, because I think the right people will understand that you're to quote Kevin Smith, who I think was quoting Wayne Gretzky, you're skating to where the puck's gonna be, not where it's at, right? And where it's gonna be is more and more and more online, not less. Like, these platforms are not dying out, right? Now, between different platforms like Instagram versus TikTok, one may become more dominant, but this idea that, the internet or social media or the way business is done now is just some fad that's gonna go away is not true. It's only going to get worse, and that's one of the reasons the companies have had to adjust so much, is because the communication's so two-way nowadays, right? Like, back in the days of purely TV for most advertising or content, if you had problem with the content that was being put out there, if you had a problem with what somebody was saying on the news, you might yell at your TV or something, but you're just sort of screaming into the void. But now everyone has a voice, everyone gets heard. So if you're being very cognizant of the fact that people very much have a voice today, and you're diving right into that fray with your brand and starting conversations or creating content around those things, it's, to me, as if I'm an employer, if I'm a director and I'm looking at you, then I see that somebody who's making the effort, or there's somebody who knows how to navigate this wonder, is probably smarter than the average bear, and that's somebody that I want on my team. That's not something that will be off-putting to me, and if it is off-putting to me, then I'm probably not somebody that you want to work with anyways, Skitty, because I'm probably going to be short-sighted, and in turn my organization's probably going to be short-sighted, and it's probably not going to be the best match for somebody of your abilities and aspirations. I need more puppies someday, Zach. At the next video game stream, I'm sure there will be a puppy break. I am partially appeased by this small puppy clip. If you don't stop bombing up my chats with irrelevant stuff about puppies, I will delete it entirely. Test me in this, father. I'm trying to see if I missed anything in the chat. Hold on, I'm scrolling back. Diggs, good morning to you also. I don't know if I saw that. Maru talked about Instagram. Hold on. Yeah, but, I am glad that I did throw some some Animal Crossing music in there for you, Cynthia. Rax the Great, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? I love puppies. It's hard not to love puppies, right? Even people who say they're cat people usually love puppies. Even people who say that they're only dog people usually love kittens. They're just too small and adorable. T-Belly, what's up, man? How you doing? Still trying to get used to you streaming in the AM. If it's any consolation, I'm still trying to get used to me streaming in the AM, T-Belly. And it's rough now because now I'm having some technical difficulties that I'm going to have to sort out because things are kind of choppy. So sorry for that. I wish I could fix it mid-stream, but I don't know that I can. But the good news is you only have to suffer for about 5 more minutes before I have to go get ready for work. But I'm glad you took the time out of your morning to come here, man. What have you been working on this morning, T-Belly? You're up and at 'em early. Because you were also on East Coast time, like me, right? Rax says, I'm tired. Did you just not sleep well, or did you just not get very much sleep? Because I feel okay today. I think I got about 6 hours last night, but then I took a nap yesterday afternoon, so I think that kind of offset some of the tiredness I normally experience. Dig says, yes, sir, just fueling up with the espresso. You know what I would like to try sometime? I've got, like, one of those Keurig makers, and they're great for just, regular coffee, I guess. But I would really like to try that, Nespresso machine sometime? Because I like espresso a lot, but I rarely get it. It's just... even like when I go to Starbucks, I get super basic white girl about the whole thing. You just pumpkin spice lattes or whatever it has a sort of sweet and fruitiness about it. I go for those frou-frou drinks. Josh got 6 hours. I'm jealous. I mean, that's tough for me because most of it's self-imposed, right? Again, I'm a night owl by trade. Getting up early and being a night owl sucks. I like both sides of it, but without a nap in the middle, like, I'll be garbage at one or the other. So it's that I lack discipline. If I really want to make sure that I was a powerhouse of productivity come 6 a.m., 5:50 a.m., I would force myself to be in bed with the lights out and no screen time around probably 10 o'clock at night. I don't do that. I will go to my bedroom about 11:30 or midnight, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to get 6 hours of sleep because I'm going to sleep. But then I play Dragon Quest demo for like an hour while I'm, going to bed, or I screw around on my phone or whatever. Which I'm sure a lot of people do, and then I end up with closer to the 5-hour range. So 6 is a huge win for me. Another great Wayne Gretzky quote is, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so take a chance on yourself if you're unsure about a project." Yes, absolutely. Again, that's why I say the only way to fail is to be inert, to be stagnant, to do nothing. To be like, ooh, I might make a video, and what if I fail? You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail a lot, and it's gonna be awesome because every time you fail, you get a little bit better. So chase failure down just voraciously. Thanks for the input, Josh. Anytime, Skate. I'm serious. If you want to talk more offline, or if you want to hit me up on Twitter, email, anything like that, feel free to do so. One of the biggest benefits I've found through this live streaming experiment over the past 25-ish days is the value of the content may not necessarily be up someone's alley. They might be like, I don't really like this topic of discussion. But one thing it does communicate is that you can get my attention every morning at 8 a.m. And I think there is some value in that, right? If you want to chat, ask deeper questions, or find a way to connect with me on another social network, you will find me at 8 a.m. Eastern every Monday through Friday, if you would like to. T-Bass says, Rockstar Belly is in... Oh, wait, no, that's in the building. Yes, he is. Camet's still up. This one's put me to sleep. I have a reusable filter on the Keurig, and I use Cafe Bustelo on the smallest cup setting. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. I've never really tried that. I usually just get the cups, man. I'm lazy, dude. Also, there's a lot of advantages to being lazy, but I feel like that's a whole nother stream in its own right, so maybe another one. Jason says, Josh is a pro napper. Yes, Jason, the absolute sweetheart here on the chat with us now, was my roommate before you left me to get married. Like a jerk. I'm kidding. Please don't. If Christina's around, Christina, I love you too. I'm sorry I said that. But yes, Jason can attest to the fact that I cannot offer a nap pretty much instantly anywhere. There was a comedian one time who was talking about the same thing, in crappy hotels. He was like, he's like that pillow could be a broken Heineken bottle, and I could still find a way to sleep on it. That's kind of the way I am. Rock stars are created, not born. Advice from a great. I like that, T-Belly. And that's the thing, so many people are like, oh, what was I meant to do? What is my cosmic purpose? What is my fate? What if YouTube wasn't my destiny? Make your own. Choose. Again, that's why I always go back to that, I'm not cultured enough to be like, oh, yes, I read lots of Maya Angelou. I don't, but what I will do is I will watch Aziz Ansari in Master of None talk about Maya Angelou and then glean something from that. But again, look up that Fig Trees poem that she did. Very relevant stuff, right? If you have a wealth of options, some people will get completely terrified by the abundance of choice they have and take no action whatsoever. But If you are deliberate and disciplined and you have an idea of what you want and you're willing to make a decision, you can do many amazing things in this life, but you gotta act. And I'm somebody who constantly gets paralyzed by choice. 4-day, what's up, man? It gets easier the more you do it, for sure. Right, and again, like, a lot of people, it's the same thing as, like, a risk aversion, right? But a lot of people are failure averse. They're like, well, I can't try because what if I fail? If you just embrace that, of course you're going to fail, and that even the top performers fail constantly, and you get yourself into the mindset of, every time I fail, I'm winning, things get a lot easier. But if you're constantly paralyzed by the dogma of others, the thought process of others, other people's opinions of you, your opinion of yourself, potentially, if you mess up, and how hard you're going to be on yourself, that could be almost a non-starter. So, and I would love to say that I have an answer for everybody to push through that, but it's different for everybody's journey. Everybody's wired differently emotionally, based on your genetics, based on your upbringing, based on the environment that you were raised in. All these things contribute to you being a very unique and special snowflake of emotional difficulties to navigate, I guess I would say. Everyone is going to have to approach that a little bit differently. I have to approach it differently. I do it with a lot of post-it notes by looking at, like, cutesy sayings on Reddit/r/get motivated. That's what helps me. For you just might need somebody to yell at you every day and say, you can do it, get you pumped up. Josh, you're like a hub for creators. You bring so many people together. Very, very, very few. You mean there are very few like me, not like the very few people like me. I hope that's not where you're going, but that's also comparatively probably true in a world of 7 billion. Smash AT and J Love are the other people think of bringing so many different people. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're a creator and you have a heart for other people, like, I think that that naturally has a sort of magnetic quality. But I'm not sitting here just like, oh yes, I'm amazing. Of course, all of you are going to come hang out. But truthfully, some people get out there and they're super toxic, they're negative, they're skeptic, they're cynical, and then they're like, how come I don't have a big following? It's because people don't like that stuff. Like, we like to admire drama or toxicity from, like, a distance. It can be entertaining in short bursts, but if it's just like a consistent string of that kind of content, it's emotionally draining, right? That's why they say, like, depending on be careful who you surround yourself with, right? Because negative people will usually drag you down quicker than you're going to bring them up. But, I've had negative people drop in on this. I've had people completely rip my content apart and drop comments like, why should I listen to you? You only get like 100 or 200 views and upload. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's fine, because again, I can't remember if I sent this out the other day or not, but if you have the ability to speak to people, if you have a platform, and all of us do right now, if you're in this chat, you have a stage, you have a platform, you have a place to put your voice out. You don't have to reach 1,000 people. You don't have to reach 100 people. You don't have to reach 1 million people. You don't have to reach the whole world. You just need to put out content for that one person that needs it. And when I made this content this morning, I knew that a lot of people are going to scroll right past it. They're going to get a quick glance at it, and they're going to be like, I don't need a blueprint for social. I'm on social all the time. Shut up, Josh. I got other things to do. Don't you know the Switch Lite's coming out in 2 weeks? But I knew there was probably going to be at least 1 or 2 people like me who would see it and might be like, that's something that I could get some value out of. And I think as long as you structure your content or what you put out, whether that's pre-produced content, whether that's your social media content, whatever it is, in a way where it's like, how can I help someone, even if that's just making them smile, something very basic that all humans tend to love to do, put you in a better position. We are special snowflakes, absolutely, every single one of you, and I say that with zero sarcasm at all. I could be sarcastic about it. I could make some Fight Club reference, I suppose, but I'm not going to, because I truly do believe everyone is unique and special and amazing in their own way. I've even had people try to corner me on that point before, and they'll be like, "Oh, so you think every girl in the world's pretty then, huh?" And I'm like, absolutely, of course I do, but context, right? Interior decorating style, which Jason can attest to here in the chat. I very much like modern stuff, right? Meaning that even though I can recognize the Mona Lisa as a beautiful piece of timeless art that is an iconic representation of humanity as a species, I wouldn't hang that up in my living room. See what I'm saying? Thanks, my little cabbage. Here's a Cheeto. Purrs while munching Cheetos. Dick says, I feel like we can learn something from everyone. It could, what to do, and sometimes, more importantly, what not to do. Yes, actually, I'm going to do an entire stream at some point about saying no. Because so many people are so terrified to say no that they say yes to everything. And in some arenas, I think that actually works. But sometimes I think we're so quick because we want to be liked, or because we want to be accommodating, or we want to be helpful, that we say yes so much that we don't spend enough time saying yes to ourselves. And in turn, we create these very difficult situations where we want to be helpful and we don't want to let other people down, but then we end up letting ourselves down because we run ourselves ragged trying to help other people. Which, I'm not saying don't help other people. I'm saying that, there's a reason on planes they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you try to help someone else, right? You gotta take care of yourself. So, but all that being said, you know, I'm gonna have to take off. You know, I got to get ready for work right now. But you know, I appreciate all of you guys taking the time out of your morning to come watch and hang out and contribute to the conversation. I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite streams. Of the past 5-6 weeks or so at this point. You know, a lot of good discussion here. I appreciate you guys all keeping it on point and talking about the things that we're talking about. Chips, very good insights. Same thing for Diggs, T-Belly, everyone who's jumping into that conversation. Skitty, again, if you want to talk some more, please feel free to hit me up. Oh wait, I missed Rex says, I'm just tired. Why are you trying to analyze? Well, I'm not trying to analyze you. I'm just trying to put stuff out there that I have found that I think other people might find helpful. If you find it helpful, great. If not, you call me a duty head and move on, man. I won't take any offense to it. Thank you, Josh. We don't deserve you, you helpful man, Mara, you big sweetie. And I don't deserve all of the amazing information you've imparted to me, specifically within the Instagram arena. But I feel like it's offset by your insistence that I adopt Animal Crossing, so maybe we're square. Have a great day, buddy. You too, T-Belly. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the stream and have a good day. You too, Cabot. Skitty says, nice stream, dude. Have a good day. Much obliged. Appreciate it. You have a great day, too. Going back to bed. Yes, go get some sleep, Mara. I can't believe you woke up just to watch. The same for you, Chips, but I appreciate it immensely. This was great. I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. Me too. Tomorrow morning, I believe what we're going to be talking about. Let me pull up my notes here. Tomorrow should be about ways that you can evaluate video game collaboration opportunities, which is something I've been wanting to talk about because a lot of people like the idea of collaborations, but sometimes they just dive right in and they don't really consider that there are some probably important pieces of information you should have before you get into something like that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, and I'm sure a lot of you will have some great insights into that as well. So yes, you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all later. Take care.